blood and fire and vapor of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood. When Yahushua died, the sun turned into darkness. So there is a big possibility that Peter saw a connection, and he saw signs in the heavens, he saw signs in the earth through Messiah. So he said, now we're getting the Ruach. We are in those times for sure, as in the millennium. Pretty much what we are expecting for the millennium is what he was expecting for that time. And I repeat, in his flesh, but Yahweh through his Ruach was using his soul for him to write all of this for us. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood, which happens in the sixth seal, before the coming of the great and awesome day of Yahweh. The fact that he says this here, and he's pretty much about to finish this quote from Joel, shows how he was expecting the day of Yahweh to start at that moment once Yahushua had appeared and left. And look how it says that the sun will turn to darkness and the moon into blood. And like I said, that happens on the sixth seal, when it will be most catastrophic, even though it kind of happens in other parts of Revelation. So the sun shall turn into darkness and the moon into blood before the coming of the great and awesome day of Yahweh. When that happens in the sixth seal, that is when the day of Yahweh is beginning. But that's when the people start going crazy and asking the mountains to fall on them and cover them from the wrath of Yahweh, because his day has come. I'm going to go to Revelation 6 real quick. On the sixth seal, it says, I looked when he opened the sixth seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood. We just saw that on the quote from Joel. And the stars of heaven fell to the earth, as a fig tree drops its late figs when it's shaken by a mighty wind. Then the sky receded as a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place. And the kings of the earth, the great men, the rich men, the commanders, the mighty men, every slave and every free man, hid themselves in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne, from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of his wrath has come, and who's able to stand. So he just said the sun got dark, and then they said the day has come. We are reading because the sun will get dark before the day. It will all happen very close to each other. It will all happen as the day is changing. For remember that the day we're talking about is a day of 1,000 years. So going back to Acts, the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the coming of the great and awesome day of Yahweh. And it shall come to pass that whoever calls on the name of Yahweh shall be saved. So Yahweh will give his Ruach to the 144,000, even if they are children, all people, servants, or bosses, wherever they are. The 144,000 will receive the Ruach during the testimony of the two witnesses for 3.5 years. But during the first 3 years they will teach, so the few will receive the Ruach. Then at the end of those first 3, the sixth seal will happen, so the sun will turn dark, and Yahweh will protect those few from the sixth seal and the trumpets, which is when the army of Yoel will appear on earth. And then the harvest will happen on the 7th trumpet, and that is when the chosen few will be saved by calling on his name. For the chosen few who will be gathered on Mount Zion will have the name of the Father and the Son on their foreheads. So even though I just read it there, I'm going to go back to Yoel to finish the chapter from here. It says, verse 28, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour my Ruach on all flesh. Look how we just read, it will happen in those days, or in the last days. They wrote here afterwards in this translation. Let me see in Hebrew. Even though I repeat, the New Covenant, they got it from the Septuagint, which, well, it is actually a good translation, even though it's Greek. That is the only issue. But it is a good translation in order to find things that word changed through the Masoretics and the vowel changes, the vowel points that they added. But in this case, I'm just going to check this verse real quick. It was verse 28. Okay, here the chapter in Hebrew changes. So let me check the chapter. It says, and it will be afterwards certainly I will pour my ruach on all flesh, and they will prophesy your sons and your daughters. So in the quote of Acts, it clearly says on the last days. Here it says in the afterwards, or could be translated in the days that come after, or the days that come at the end. So that may be the reason why they translated it like that. So going back to the English version, yes, and it shall come to pass afterward that I will pour out my ruach on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Your old man shall dream dreams. Your young man shall see visions. And also on my men servants and on my maid servants I will pour out my ruach in those days. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth. Like I already said, Yahweh will show wonders like he has done in previous times, but none like he was about to do. I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. Blood and fire and pillars of smoke. There are many ways in which this could be interpreted. The pillars of smoke, for instance, like the pillar that led the people of Israel in the desert during the day, while a pillar of fire during the night. A pillar of smoke representing his presence, the Shekinah. Fire would be the pillar of fire at night, which represents the last who comes as a thief in the night, the consuming fire. But also there will be fire through the war, of course. A lot of blood and fire. Blood being spilled through the fire used on the war that will be unleashed on the second seal. And obviously a lot of more blood during other plagues of the last 7 years. But not only that, scripture also speaks of hail that will be mixed with fire and blood that will fall on this earth. So blood and fire coming from heaven as the sign. And pillars of smoke. Most likely, if hail with fire and blood comes down from heaven, would be leaving pillars of smoke behind. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness. Couple parts in scriptures where we see that, meaning Revelation. Couple parts in the end times when this will happen. Actually 3 times. Well, yeah, I guess, but 2 main ones in which it will get completely dark. The main one, of course, is the 6th seal, and that is the one I've been mentioning. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, in the 6th seal, before the coming of the great and awesome day of Yahweh. Let me see the Hebrew real quick. 31. The sun shall be turned to darkness, and the moon to blood, before the face of the day of Yahweh. So it doesn't necessarily have to be time before the day comes. It could be interpreted, as I'm seeing it in Hebrew, as the sun and the moon will turn to darkness, the sun, and the moon to blood, right at the face of the day of Yahweh. When the day of Yahweh is beginning, the sun and the moon will go through that sign. So the sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the face of the coming of the great and awesome day of Yahweh. And we just saw how that will be fulfilled on the 6th seal on Revelation 6. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the coming of the great and awesome day of Yahweh. And it shall come to pass And it shall come to pass that whoever calls on the name of Yahweh shall be saved. Some translations say delivered. And it shall come to pass that whoever calls on the name of Yahweh shall be saved. In Hebrew it says, and it will be that all who call on the name or to the name Yahweh will be delivered. Because in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there will be redemption, as Yahweh has said. So it shall come to pass that whoever calls on the name of Yahweh, look how important it is to call on the name of Yahweh, but people claim it doesn't matter how you call him. It doesn't matter what name you use. None of that matters to them. But Yahweh tells us that whoever calls on his name will be delivered. Therefore, whoever doesn't call on his name won't. Still, people don't care. And it shall come to pass that whoever calls on the name of Yahweh shall be saved. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there shall be deliverance, be salvation, redemption. As Yahweh has said, among the remnant whom Yahweh calls. Look how it closes. Because he just said, whoever calls on his name shall be saved. Then it says, among the remnant, meaning the few. Remnant is those who are left from the many. Because many are called, but few are chosen. Many are called, but the remnant is chosen. That's why it says, among the remnant whom Yahweh calls. Because many are called, but few are chosen. The remnant are the few who are chosen from that call which they actually received, while the others reject. A call to call on his name. I repeat this verse to close. And it shall come to pass that whoever calls on the name of Yahweh shall be saved. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem there shall be deliverance, as Yahweh has said, among the remnant whom Yahweh calls. So the deliverance, the salvation will be among the chosen few, the remnant who will be transformed, not to experience death. While the many who do not listen to the call, some will be lost, of course, because they are not at all part of the congregation, even though they may go to a church. If they don't follow the commandments of the Almighty, then they won't. But those who follow the commandments yet don't know his name or don't accept his name, but believe in the coming of his son who died for our sins, they will be resurrected after they die in confusion, in the tribulation. I mean confusion because they won't understand why that is happening, since it doesn't go with what they were taught in church.